Welcome, I'm Jon Caldara, president of the Independence Institute and your devil's advocate. Last week we spent some time talking to Bob Beaupre and Tom Tancredo, the gubernatorial candidates for the Republican ticket. Today, Scott Gessler and this man, former state senator Mike Kopp. Thanks for joining us.
You bet, John.
I appreciate it. All right, I should warn people that you're not really here right now because we taped this a day early. You are in Grand Junction.
Yes.
In spandex.
Yes, that is right. That is one of the downsides of being a cyclist is the spandex.
You don't have to wear the spandex. I was a kid.
It's the padding.
We did have it.
It's the padding.
Oh, okay.
Yes, it's the padding.
What? Yeah. You're doing a bike tour?
Yeah, we are actually.
So in other words, you've given up campaigning completely.
This is going to be. It's a 10-stop campaign tour. We're just doing it on road bikes. It's going to be 6 days, 436 miles. The whole operation, the whole statewide operation, is essentially going with us. I'll be doing my fundraising along the way, all my phone calls, all my meetings. We'll be having lots of, town hall kinds of things and rallies and things like that. But it's a tour. Every candidate does tours. I'm doing mine on a road bike. And I'm really energized about it. I want to demonstrate how hard we're willing to work.
We're not talking about a moped,
governor.
Not a moped, but you're actually pedaling.
It has pedals. Yeah,
okay.
It's about a 6 or 7-year-old Moto Beacon, and it's.
Do you have somebody who's actually going to be dragging you? I don't know if you know. There's actually a few hills between there and the edge of the state.
I've suckered one good friend into going. I told him it wasn't very far. Don't worry about it. So he's going to ride with me, and yeah, I'm told there's one hill, and he said it's Continental Divide, but you don't really have to worry about it. It's not much to think about.
Let me ask you some of the questions I've asked your colleagues. The same thing. I want to know about your path to victory. Now, I mean, we've got 4 qualified Republican candidates vying for this, and as always, the Democratic Party has one guy. He doesn't have to have this fight that Republicans seem to have year after year. Tell me your path to victory, not why you'd be the greatest governor ever, but why it is you're going to win and how.
I think that, well, first of all, I think the polls show that it's pretty wide open, which I think is good news for the guy in the race who hasn't ever run statewide before. That's me. You have 3 people who have all run statewide before. They're known, especially a couple of them are really well known, and yet they haven't been able to close the deal with a lot of voters. You've got in the 40s or maybe high 40s percentage points of people that are undecided in this race right now. They're still looking at all the candidates, and I think that's really good news for me. But I think that Republicans are pretty pragmatic right now, and what they want is they want a conservative who can demonstrate that they won't leave their conservative principles behind. I've been able to do that. But they want a conservative who can do that at the same time as build a coalition that's big enough to advance conservative issues. And I've done that as the minority leader. That's the case that I make around the state. It sticks, and it works for us. And that's the case that I made at the Assembly when we got top line.
Let me ask you the question about the other 3. I know that there's always jockeying, and people are whispering, we've got to consolidate. We need to get around one candidate. Why can't they get into one candidate? Can we put them into a room, have an arm wrestling contest, and get it over with? So let me ask you what I've asked the others. What would it take for you, Mike Kopp, to drop out of the race in order to consolidate and to bring the party together? What would it take?
To bring the party together.
To get behind one candidate, what would it take?
I've been in the race a long time, John, and I'm in this race. And I've just learned this in life, and this isn't a dodge, but I've learned this in life, that a lot of times victory comes after the 11th hour. Everybody else has given up, they've gotten tired, they've gone home. Victory can often come after the 11th hour. I work hard, I fight really hard, so I'm in, and I intend to pursue this till the end. I just wish the other 3 guys would come to their senses and endorse Mike Kopp.
All right, let me give you the hypothetical.
Okay.
You're riding your bicycle. You're on which pass are you going over?
Monarch.
Monarch Pass.
Right.
They have cars.
Don't tell anybody what time and day we're going over there, because I don't want them to see what shape we may be in.
All right. You're right there by the summit, and then of course the coronary happens, and it sends you to the hospital. You can't move anything except your mouth, and you're out of the race, and you have to endorse one of the other 3. Is there one that you would endorse?
Well, that wasn't a very exciing build-up, John. Yeah. So in other words, if some unforeseen event happened, I had to endorse
right, and you could
Gessler.
Why is that?
Gessler. I just think that Coloradans are ready for a new generation of leader. I want to beat Scott. I beat him at the Assembly. Scott's a good friend of mine. I want to beat him. I think I'd be a better governor than Scott would. But if I had to pick anybody, as second best, it'd be Scott.
Money is the big factor in this race. So you've got a couple names that have been able to pull. Tom has got candidate money coming in from all over the country, but I think in smaller levels. I think Bob Beaupre has been able to bring in a few larger donations. How goes the war for the dollars?
Well, I think the war for the dollars since the start has been tough for everybody, all four races. There's no question about it. All you have to do is look at the Secretary of State's reporting to see that. I think the fact that you've got 4 candidates in this race on the Republican side has probably frozen, I would guess, 50–60% of the possible donations that otherwise would be there. So I think that's just a hurdle all the campaigns have to climb. Tom, you're right, has had donations from around the country. They're usually pretty small. It costs a lot of money for him to go after those donations. Bob has, put a fair amount of his own money into the race. Scott and I are probably most akin, and there's some distance between the candidates in terms of how much money they've raised. But when you look at the scale of effort required to get a message out statewide, there's no massive fundraising advantage, I don't think, that you can really accord to any one of the candidates. You
take all 4 candidates together, add all their money together, it still doesn't touch what Hick has put together so far.
Right.
All right, so let's go forward. You win. How do you take out Hick? What is the difference that makes Kopp governor and Hick lose? What is the difference that people need to know about?
Well, I think people want to know that they have a leader that they can trust. They know the direction this leader is going to go. I served with Governor Hickenlooper. He's a nice guy. He is a nice man. I just saw him the other night, as a matter of fact. I'm not sure where he wants to take the state.
Were you stalking him?
Most people, actually, it was a chance encounter. It was at a gala. It was after a gala thing, and I don't think most people know where he wants to go. His plan that he stated, his that he put a lot of emphasis behind was called TBD, to be determined. So I think people want a clear leader that knows where they're going, and I think the difference is going to come down to where you stand on the issues and how you articulate these issues. He's for more taxes. He always has been for more taxes. I'm for less. I've cut taxes. Nobody knows exactly what he would want to do on the Nathan Dunlap murder case. I'm very clear on what I would want to do. What I would do. Nobody would want to do that. I would make the decision to sign the execution order. We've got these backroom deals going on with renewable energy as it relates to the co-ops in the state. None of the co-ops were involved in the dialogue around that. It was sprung from behind closed doors. Backroom deals do not make for good policy. The people in the back room win, everybody else loses. I would definitely put an end to that. And I have a clear path to really drive down the cost of being a regulated business in the state. I have a clear plan. It's called the Blueprint for a Leaner Government. His plan has been sort of up in the air. I don't know what it is. My plan's clear, and I'd make that case.
What differentiates you from your 3 other opponents right now? Because I would think they'd all say the same thing. The Dunlap thing, the war on rural Colorado, those are certainly themes. What sets you apart from your 3 friends?
I think you have to. I think it's important to take into account somebody's history. I think your history is the best predictor of what you're going to do in the future. And I served as minority leader, and I served as a member of the Senate, always in the minority, and yet I was able to achieve conservative reforms. I think the job of our next governor, if it's a Republican, and I hope it's a Republican, I hope it's me, will involve something akin to that kind of dynamic. You're going to have probably a bare majority of Republicans in one house and Democrats in another, or maybe a bare majority either way. It's going to take real skill to be a conservative governor that does more than just say no, which is important, but a governor that can actually advance the causes that I think conservatives need to advance. I've demonstrated that I can do that, and I think I've demonstrated I can do that above my peers. The Secretary, with all due respect, he's been at the top of the heap at the Secretary of State's office. Your word is law. It's not that way when you're one of 100 in the legislature. It takes a whole different set of skills to navigate an environment like that. And a governor needs to be able to navigate an environment like that. And I don't think our governor has done that, and I can do that. And it's important that we do that to get the kind of conservative reforms that our state needs.
Cory Gardner really changed the dynamic of the Senate race by getting in and clearing out the field. One of the things he's had to do is back away from his original support of the Personhood Amendment. He had to say, I didn't realize this and I didn't realize that. You also supported that. Right. That's going to come up. How do you answer it?
Yeah, it's always going to come up for all the candidates. Well, I'm unapologetically pro-life, and I always have been pro-life. If there are efforts to protect the life of the unborn, I'm going to be there, right there. I don't backpedal on issues, and so I'm always going to be there and protect the life of the unborn. Any measure that comes forward, I'll examine it. You know, if it's a legislative measure or another one, I'll examine it in that light. But in light of that core value, that's my intention.
You rose to minority leader, and you had to leave. And it's a story you might be uncomfortable with, but I want to get it out there that your wife passed away from cancer, and you had 4 children you needed to take care of. That was tough. And that I remember what you went through personally, and a lot of us kind of in these circles knew that. You've since remarried. Pardon the personal question, how goes that? I mean, it is a remarkable story you haven't talked about on the campaign trail.
You would, you know, you'd never believe if you go through a loss like this that you can experience hope again, in a whole new way, and really a way that just catches you off guard. My wife Shannon has absolutely captured my heart and reopened the possibilities of the future in just such an incredible way. I would have never seen it coming, of course, and it's in a way that I could have never comprehended. Life is good. I'm excited to be Mike Kopp in 2014, married to Shannon Kopp, and have 4 great kids. Thank you for.
Well, and I'm just so proud to see you do that, because, you know, I've been through my losses as well, and it's a tough road, and so it's amazing what you're doing and how you're doing it.
Thank you.
Getting on to the final push. Your opponent here, Hick, has $2 million. I don't know what's going to be left over here. He's got his record. You've got a record as well. If you had to encapsulate what the campaign is all about, and Mike Kopp's not a household name. For us politicos, we know you well, but we've already made decisions. We know how we're going to vote. Those people in the middle don't know who you are. Right? Who are you?
I believe more than anything else in this central idea about my administration if I'm elected. I want to empower individuals and not the government. I firmly believe that a big government means a small people. And our governor has done everything he can to grow the size, the cost, the complexity of state government. There are consequences to doing that, consequences on our freedom, consequences on our opportunities. I can make a case against the governor that people deserve more opportunity than they've been given, and I'll do that. I'll deliver on that promise.
Mike, thank you.
Thanks, John.
Thank you. Stay tuned.